to Christ when tempted to go back to former sins, worldly ways, old patterns of thinking, or ungodly patterns of living. That's what I just said. Okay? This is important. This is very important. Because somehow we think that, well, and it could be for a number of reasons. It could be because maybe we're not, Christians are not steeped in the Word enough, or they're not anchored in the Word enough, or they could be pulled away by teachings in the world. The Bible tells us to shun the world. The Bible tells us that unity in the world is enmity against God. You can't love the world, okay, or the things in the world and love God at the same time. There's a division there, okay? So this is the theme. This is the theme. And I want you to kind of keep that theme in mind, okay? All right. Now, let's look at the Bible, if you will. It says that in verse number 1, we're going to go through this verse by verse, okay? And the whole thing about better, I want you to, as we go through these verses, I want you to think about in your mind the term better. Better. Christ is better. Jesus is better. Jesus is better. Jesus is preeminent. Okay, as we read this, okay, and we're going to apply it to our own lives. So let's start with chapter 1, verse 1, okay. God, who in sundry times and in divers manners spake in times past unto the fathers by the prophets, has in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, okay, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. Now, what is that saying right off? Right off the bat, it's saying, and this was a message to the Jews. They had the prophets as high ranking, of course, Moses and Isaiah and Daniel and Jeremiah, all the prophets, okay? And God did speak to them through the prophets, okay? They were God's men. God spoke truth to them and whatnot. But when Jesus came on the scene, he overrode all of that. He says, yes, God used to speak through the prophets, but in these last days, now what does he mean by last days? He's talking about, as a matter of fact, when Christ came on the scene, he ushered in a new covenant, a new way of getting to God, a new way of having a way that every believer could get to God on his or her own by accepting Christ. As you know, Jesus was, whereas they would sacrifice rams and bulls and pigeons and sacrifice animals under the law, that was done. That was a type of Christ. But once Jesus came on the scene, he was sacrificed. The one-time sacrifice for the sins of all. And that's all that's needed, okay? To Christ, especially in these last days. He's the one. And I'm just going to tell you, Jesus is really the only. The world is crazy. That's all I see now. I don't know if you see it. That's what I see. Just utter craziness.